But for the real-life players, the narrative was much simpler.
It's finally going to happen. We get to go head-to-head again. It's just a matter of rolling that ball out there and let's get it on.
Welcome then to the Boston Garden and the start of the NBA World Championship Series. I'm Brent Musburger. In each of the last 4 NBA World Championship Series, either Magic or Bird has competed. But this is the first time that the two have gone head-to-head for the title.
Man, we jumped out on them that first game, and we won in Boston.
And with less than a minute to go in Game 2, the Lakers were closing in on a commanding series lead.
From that point on, things began to crumble.
Down to 9 seconds. Magic holds the ball. Magic trying to work on Maxwell. Magic has still got it down to 2 seconds. 1 second. He's going to have to shoot it. He doesn't get it off. He doesn't get it off.
Cheesy Johnson dribbling the timeout. What are you doing?
The Lakers regained their stride in Game 3, only to be rudely knocked off it again in Game 4.
And now let's watch it. Cooper and the Celtics, and now the bench is empty.
When Kurt Rambis got taken out, we started fighting instead of playing.
Kareem swings the elbow, and now is yelling at Larry Bird. Jaw to jaw.
And it made us realize we were not mentally tougher than the Celtics.
Magic's just not himself.
To be sure they won't let the time run out as they did in Game 2. Harris steals the ball, and the Celtics call a timeout.
There were a number of places where, Irvin didn't do what people expected him to do.
Tied at 123. He misses the first. Johnson misses them both. Celtics want a timeout. Despondent, Magic Johnson goes to the bench. Bird turnaround, hits.
Game 5 went to the Celtics. Game 6 to the Lakers. It was like 1979 all over again, down to 1 game for Bird and Magic.
If everybody had to look at it, probably would have said this is going to be 7-game series.
I thought we'd sweep them in 4, but it's went a little bit longer. Now we just have to do it in 7.
That's the only time I ever felt that. There ain't no way they're walking out here with a win.
Magic Johnson.
No way.
Lakers have several chances, and here's Larry Bird shucking down the front. Bird. How does he do it? Now Johnson with the ball. The Lakers trying to cut it to 1. And he loses it. The Boston Celtics are the NBA World Champions.
I pride myself in being the guy who's going to win it for us and deliver under pressure. And it didn't happen.
I hope he was hurting. Hope it killed him. He made some bad plays down the stretch, and nobody in there was happier than me. Not only winning the game makes you feel good, but just knowing the other guy's suffering, and he was.
I remember after the game that both he and I were in the showers crying and stayed in there for about 35, 40 minutes. It was hard because not only had we lost to the Boston Celtics, he had lost to his nemesis, Larry Bird.
I think he just made me dislike him more, because he was that good. And I think you be jealous. You jealous a little bit.
Larry, does this get you even with Magic for what happened between Michigan State and Indiana State all those many years ago? Yeah, we're professionals now, but I won this one for Terre Haute.
Well, it was a big deal. I remember asking Quinn Buckner about it afterwards. They had a celebration in downtown Boston after they won the championship, and it was unusual for Larry to have these little outbursts, as Quinn would call them. But about 11:30 at night, finally he turned to Quinn. He goes, "I got him. I finally got him." And he was talking about Magic.
The league was rejoicing too. Game 7 of the '84 series was one of CBS's highest-rated telecasts of the year, and the highest-rated game the NBA had ever produced.
All of a sudden, whether it was at CBS or Madison Avenue, the sports writers around the country became phenomena. What is happening here? The absolute foundation in this resurgence was the Celtics and the Lakers, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
But Magic was in no mood to bask in the accomplishment.
I took a media beating. Tragic Magic. This is why we say Larry Bird. It was something I never dealt with in my life.
That particular series, that championship series, redefined his whole career because he never stopped working after that.
Magic was on a mission to prove to himself and the world that with the ball in his hands, he was still the one in control. And after his Lakers ran through the '85 season, he quickly got what he wanted, another shot at Bird and the Celtics.
They won the East, we won the West. So it's like everybody just get ready, sit back, and let's enjoy it.
But that smile belied the intensity of the clash that awaited.
If I had a glass of water and any of those guys had been on fire, I would drink the water and watch them.
They called us, chokers and sissies. We didn't like that, and they thought less of us. I knew they did.
In '85, we played them 4 times in exhibition season for some reason. I don't know why they scheduled that. By the 4th game, there was an all-out brawl.
They call this one of the greatest rivalries in all of sport, the Celtics and the Lakers. And if that is true, it is the most one-sided rivalry in all of sports. 8 times these two have met for the NBA championship, and 8 times the Celtics have won.
At guard, in his 6th year from Michigan State, at number 32, Magic Johnson.
But in the '85 finals, Magic changed the script. Over 6 grueling games, he masterfully controlled the pace with all-around brilliance.
He has a triple-double again.
Behind their point guard, the Lakers finally knocked out the Celtics, winning the clinching game in the Boston Garden.
3 in 6 years, LA comes to Boston and wins the world title.
Redemption for one Magic Johnson. It's a long year last year to wait for this moment right now.
Magic had evened the score with Bird on the NBA floor, but the significance of their rivalry and their relationship was still just taking hold.
You crazy. I said, you're crazy. I'm not shooting no commercial with Larry. So I said, okay, what, we're gonna shoot it in LA?
I would never went to LA to film it.
Well, where are we gonna shoot it?
If you want to shoot a commercial, come to my house.
I was like, oh no. One stoplight. And I thought Lansing was small. I think the plan was, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do, and I'm trying to get up out of here. My plan was that.
Even after Converse had convinced Magic and Bird to film a sneaker ad together in the summer of '85, a question remained. How would the two hated rivals on the court get along off of it?
I don't know how he's gonna react. I don't know how I'm gonna react. We didn't even shake hands, so how are we gonna do a commercial together?
The ad was to be filmed at the home Bird had built for his mom. It featured a full-length basketball court, the day's first location.
So they say, okay, you're playing one-on-one, and I'm looking at Larry, and he's looking at me like, is this real? Are we playing? Because, this is Magic and Bird.
I could just hear Larry, starting in on, well, you bring it to the basket, and I'm going to send it 30 rows up.
So the guy was like, no, not like that. A fun game. We were both like, oh, okay. Like, like you can see this relief coming over both of our faces.
That brief détente led to the next stage, dialogue.
We sat down next to each other. How was your summer? Oh, it's going good. How was yours? It's going great. He said, man, it's a nice spread. You got it.
And he's asked me, is this where you play? I said, yeah, I play here if it's not windy. If it's raining or windy, I go to the gym. But this is where I do all my work.
I see that tractor. You work on the tractor? He said, man, I work on this tractor every day. Larry Bird work on the tractor? He said, yeah.
It's just them two walking and talking, and every once in a while they'd stop and one of them would say something, and then they'd start laughing.
Then they said, okay, break, it's lunch break time. I was going to my trailer. He said, no, my mother has prepared lunch for us up at the house.
We went up to the house and we sat down there and we talked, and my mom, my brothers thought the world of him.
His mother was so nice, making sure I had enough to eat. I just saw my mother. It was crazy.
He charmed her. You can see it, but that's Magic. He makes everybody feel welcome and warm, and he's a con man.
And while Magic charmed Georgia Bird, it was someone else who intrigued her son.
He met Irvin at lunch.
Irvin is a good dude. I like Irvin a lot better than Magic.
I was just so happy to finally be Irvin with him, because Magic was like, I don't know if I want to get to know this guy. But Irvin got a chance to talk about family, how he grew up. We just became two relaxed guys, just talking.
That day was great. It was a great day. Beautiful day.
Still, for Bird, ever the competitor, that's all it was, just one day.
Magic thinks the next year, okay, well, now we're great friends, so, after the game, we're going to go out, we're going to have a beer. And Larry's like, no, you're right. I know you better. You're a good guy, but I still don't want anything to do with you.
He's a happy-go-lucky guy. If me and him got to be really good friends, go out on the court, he could still play the same game. I couldn't. I mean, that's just the way it is.
But when the ad hit the airwaves, for others, the perception changed.
I saw those limousines going through the cornfields, and I said, no. They didn't sell themselves out.
I heard Converse made a pair of Bird shoes for last year's MVP. Yep. But they made a pair of Magic shoes for this year's MVP.
Okay, Magic, show me what you got.
Well, this is really a business thing.
The Bird shoe, the Magic shoe.
And maybe that's where the business thing started to get bigger and began to trump who they both really were.
It polarized the whole idea of Lunch Bucket versus Hollywood, white versus black. Just cemented all the differences between them.
Kids weren't wearing black gym shoes because they didn't want to be associated with the Larry Bird camp. You wore your white Converse.
The basketball rivals had morphed into cultural warriors, and race, more than ever, had become an unavoidable part of the conversation.
Yo!
But nothing about Bird and Magic had ever been as simple as black and white.
One of the big reasons this rivalry became so emblematic of so many things is because it was an easy dichotomy for people to understand. But it's crazy to simplify it as saying white people like Bird and black people like Magic because 13% of the country is black. But it wasn't like 87% of basketball fans preferred the Celtics.
Who's your favorite basketball player? Magic Johnson. Who's your favorite movie star? Eddie Murphy. Pino, all you ever talk about is nigga this and nigga that. And all your favorite people are so-called niggas. It's different. Magic, Eddie, Prince are not niggas. I mean, they're not black. I mean, let me explain myself.
Has the N-word ever been used by a white person to describe Irvin? I doubt it.
There emerged as the polarizing racial figure, due in part to that era's increasingly conservative political climate.
The rolling back institutionally of the achievements of the civil rights movement were going on apace from about 1975 on. But the triumph of the movement that rolled it back took place in the 1980s. And I think there was people who were very aware in the black community of what was going on. And I think there was a lot of sublimated frustration. And I think one of the ways it got sublimated was into basketball. And I think Larry, through no fault of his own, was the receptacle within which the lingering resentments somehow flowed.
And after Bird led the Celtics to the championship in 1986, his third in the pros, winning his third straight MVP award in the process, the resentment grew.
I always felt that the press was biased in favor of Larry Bird. It always felt to me like they were gonna make Larry the hero. You know, you'd see somebody score and Larry would be in a cast in a suit on the bench and they'd say, Larry Bird made that possible a couple weeks ago when he told that guy he could do it, and he just did it. They gonna get his motherfucker the assist and he not in the game?
Not to be racist, but we have a white guy who's the best in the world. It's predominantly a black sport now. And you got a guy like Larry Bird who can't run, who can't jump, but can do everything out there.
That don't mean nothing to me. It don't mean anything to me. It never has. I don't know why. I mean, am I doing something wrong here?
Bird may have sought to avoid the conversation entirely, but the more he won, the less he could escape it.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. What a play by Bird.
In 1987, after Boston beat the Detroit Pistons to advance to the finals for the fourth straight year, Pistons rookie Dennis Rodman called Bird overrated because he was white. His teammate Isaiah Thomas then chimed in with some thoughts of his own.
If he was black, he'd be just another good guy.
I can remember in the locker room, I think it was Jack McMullen came up to me and said, Isaiah just said, boom, 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 boom. And I go, so?
He didn't care. He didn't care. Everybody else around him cared very deeply in the days and weeks as it turned out ahead.
I mean, the media made it out like it was something, but it didn't matter to me what Isaiah or Dennis Rodman said, and it still don't. It has no bearing on what I do in my life.
He doesn't see race. He really doesn't. And he could have. This guy grew up poor, white, in southern Indiana. Southern Indiana, the home, by the way, of the modern Ku Klux Klan. How he managed not to be affected by the cultural milieu that he grew up in is, I think, a miracle. To me, it's inexplicable.
When I was in about 6th or 7th grade, I couldn't wait till school to be over because I knew over on the courts, the waiters from the hotel would be over there. They were black, older, and they let me play. You know, I always looked at that as I got an opportunity to play against a black man, and they treated me good. I couldn't wait to play against the best, and at that time, they were the best.
And in 1987, as Bird vied with Magic to be the best, The flap over Isaiah Thomas's racially fueled remarks forced Bird to address his least favorite topic at the worst possible time.
I had to go to a press conference when we was in LA trying to get ready to play the Lakers and tell people I didn't care. This don't bother me.
The main thing is if the statements or whatever was said doesn't bother me, I don't think it should bother any of us.
From playing all year trying to get back to the finals and play against Magic, this was a distraction.
Bird was facing off against Magic for the third time in 4 years. And if their relationship had softened, the determination to beat each other had not. As Game 4 proved, the level of competition between them was higher than ever.
Bird played awesome down the stretch of that game.
Trailing 2-1 in the series, the Celtics were down by 1 point in the final minute of the game. But Larry Bird wouldn't be easily vanquished.
Open his aim. Bird goes for three.
With 7 seconds left, though, the Lakers still had life. 3 years earlier in the '84 finals, Magic had flubbed a similar situation. But this was a different Magic, one with a whole new bag of tricks.
My man switched to Kareem, and Kevin McHale jumped out to me. As soon as I saw Kevin, I said, oh, I'm taking him.
You know, Magic puts it on the floor, a couple head and shoulder fakes, and he raised up in the air. And there was nobody that was going to get that shot.
I remember after they called timeout thinking, there's still a shot here. Celtics may still win this game.
Well, they set up a great play. Bird walked Worthy all the way up, forced the denial all the way up.
We've done it before. Clear everybody out, go to the ball and break the corner.
He caught it here, and as he caught it, all he had to do was turn, and just turn, and he just let this thing go.
Bird fires it.
Had a wide open look, couldn't believe it.
And I'm standing right there, it is straight as an arrow.
Dead on.
And the Lakers have won.
We're lucky because it was right on line.
He looked at me like, how did you ever leave me that wide open?
You gotta be kidding me. Changed the whole series.
The Lakers won the series in 6. And in the aftermath of a year in which Magic had won his first MVP, the rivalry suddenly took on a new tone.
Magic's just a great basketball player. He's the best I've ever seen, you know. Unbelievable. I don't know what to say.
I was shocked that he said it, because I thought to myself, maybe this is the beginning of a new era that's not going to include him. It was the passing of the torch a little bit.
After vanquishing Bird in '87, Magic wasn't done winning. The following year, he squared off in the finals against his good friend Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons, beating them to become the NBA's first repeat champions in 2 decades. By the dawn of the '90s, he'd won 5 titles, played in 8 finals, and equaled Bird's MVP tally of 3. But the more Magic won, the less Irvin seemed to be around to reap the spoils.
Once I tasted the champagne and the championship, I wanted more of that and more of that. So Magic kept growing because we were successful. And the persona and all of that came with that.
The Prince of L.A. was now the king. And in Hollywood, being royalty had its perks.
What was Irvin Johnson's vice? Now, you know, my publicist wants me to say winning. But women loved Irvin.
Back then, before voicemail, they used to have these mail slots in the hotels where you leave your key. And when we get into a town, Irvin's mail slot would be so packed, and it would be just Susan and a phone number, Linda and a phone number, Joyce and a phone number. I mean, that was every city, every time.
I was on top of my game as Magic, so I needed all that around me at that time. The women, the this, the that, Hollywood.
Magic was living in a context of sybaritic excess from the minute he walked in.
Sex with several women at the same time.
Yeah. Like I said, women have different fantasies. Some want to be with 2 or 3 at a time. You know, one time I had 6 at one time. That's just...
I really do believe he looks upon Magic Johnson as a movie character he played. I think Irvin got overwhelmed in LA by what it meant to be a star.
That's probably true that the Magic ego swallowed Irvin a little bit, but that's okay because I couldn't win 5 championships without that.
Through all of this haze of women and money and fame and fortune, he still kept basketball at #1. He never seemed to lose that focus.
Larry had two jobs his last 7 years of playing. It was playing basketball, and then it was him being committed to taking care of his back.
He had first heard it in 1985, building the driveway at his mom's house back in French Lick.
Larry decides to do it himself. This is Larry Bird, the superstar, out there breaking his back, literally shoveling gravel. And that was the beginning of a process.
I would see him on TV laying down, and then they told me that he had to lay down on planes, different things like that. And I was like, wow.
As Magic soared through the prime of his career, Bird was breaking down, his deteriorating back and punishing style of play proving an excruciating mix.
From 88 to 92, it was painful to watch. It was painful to cover. Larry is quite ornery when he's not feeling well, which means he was ornery for those next 4 years.
He could manage the pain in a way that very few people can do. There'd be days he could come in the office and he couldn't stand up straight.
But even after 2 ruptured Achilles tendons and surgery on his back in 1991, Bird kept going to work. Product of a lesson learned many years before, seeing the swollen ankle of a man long since gone.
Well, we don't know if it broke or not, but it looked broke to me. Had to go to work and had to get his boot on, and it took everything I had to help him get that boot on his foot. And he stood up limping, and he said, well, I'll see you this weekend, because he was working construction at the time. And I was pretty amazed how he could fight through that all week, then come home on the weekend, and it was black and swollen, and he'd sit around on the weekend and put that boot on and go again. If you get paid to go to work, you got to go to work.
It was a situation that he was seeing almost daily. He had lost the structural stability in his spine, so it would slip into abnormal positions to try and lock itself to get an artificial stability. That's like getting your finger stuck in the door and somebody's still pushing on the door. So what we had to do was unlock his spine, realign it, do techniques that would hold that for 4 hours, 6 hours, that type of thing, and then he'd go play basketball.
Every time I would play, I was wondering if I was going to be in a wheelchair. Was I ever going to be able to, walk on the beach or hold my kids?
His pain and his quest for basketball became all-encompassing. Very few people really knew what Larry was living with, because this was Larry's issue, and there was no sharing of his pain.
I probably should have retired in 88, 89, but it's that competition. Maybe one more chance, me and Magic get together in the finals, but it never happened.
I'm sleeping, really, laying down, just waiting on the game, and the phone rings, and the voice says, hey, you got to come back to L.A. And I said, okay, why? Well, I can't tell you until you get to L.A. So I said, okay.
2 hours later, he was in the office of Lakers team physician Michael Melman.
Dr. Melman starts to tell me that, through the physical that I took, that they discovered that I had HIV. First time ever in my life. I'm such a control freak, right? And do things the right way. I'm out of control. Oh, it was everything. How is it possible? What happened? How did it happen to me? And my mind is racing, and then you're just devastated.
Further complicating things, Magic had gotten married just 2 months earlier, and he feared the worst for his new bride, Cookie, who was pregnant with their first child.
I don't know what's going to happen with my wife and my baby. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't have control of the situation, and I was lost just for that next 2 or 3 weeks.
And after Magic learned neither his wife nor his unborn child were infected, he began revealing the news to his inner circle.
The phone rang, and it was Magic's agent, Lon Rosen. And he said, Irvin's looking for you, call him. And I said, I'll call him when I get to Paramount. And he says, call him now. I said, Lon, I'll call him when I get to Paramount. I'll be there in 20 minutes. And he said, you got to call him now. Irvin's HIV positive. I remember I was sitting on the bed. I remember standing up at that point. And I said, how is that possible? I'm thinking Irvin's gonna get skinny and die. I mean, literally, that's what I thought. Irvin's gonna get skinny and die.
The first person I thought of was Larry. I wonder what Larry thinks.
The day that I heard about Magic, it just sort of changed my love for basketball. It shook me up. You gotta get that feeling Probably the same type of feeling I had when my father died.
He wants to understand why, how can I talk to him? I need to speak to him. It was just really important for Larry to talk to him.
Sort of, I don't know. I wanted to hear it from him, probably didn't believe it.
Calls me, we're talking, it's just, how you doing? I heard about it, and you can almost hear both of us with some tears in our eyes. And I'm choked up because he did call me, and when something happens, to you, and then you find out who really your friends are and people who really care about you. You figure all those battles, all those things we had to go through as warriors, as competitors, and as men. And here this man says, hey, you know what, man, you're okay. And so that was the greatest moment for me too, to have him check on me and to make sure I was okay.
First of all, let me say good late afternoon. Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers today.
It's the only press conference I've ever been in where I've seen reporters cry. I mean, we thought this guy was in total denial.
I plan on going on, living for a long time, bugging you guys like I've always have.
We thought this smile was going to be wiped off his face forever, and he was going to die, but we're going to watch him die in public.
I just remember in the room, he was joking, and I'm sitting there looking at him crying, and he's like, Coop, man, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. It's going to be all right.
I am going to go on, I'm going to beat it, and I'm going to have fun.
Sure, come on. You're going to beat this? And to him, it was a contest. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, AIDS and Magic Johnson, it's same thing. It's just a different game, different rules, but I'm still going to win.
He wasn't planning on going nowhere. Urban was planning that day to find the right medicine, to eat right, get rest, and live forever. That's what he was planning.
Thank you again, and I'll see you soon.
But his Magic put up a positive public face. His nemesis, still out of sorts, shed the mask he had hidden behind for years.
He was visibly like, wow, how could that happen? It really set him back.
Probably the two toughest days I've had since my father passed away, and I've been very depressed and sort of been out of it.
I listened to him talk in this press conference about how devastated he was, and I remember thinking to myself, goddamn, Larry found Irvin.
Just out of the blue, something like that happening. It's just, I've never had, other than one other instance, and I was hoping I'd never see that again, because I remember how I felt weeks after that. And yesterday was just a sad day.
And at his game that night, Bird was forced to confront pain he couldn't so easily play through.
Didn't want to be there that night. First time ever. And really last. I remember we played in Atlanta. Had no feel for the game, This wasn't a good time to be out there. Never had that before.
That night he threw a pass. I'll never forget, he threw a half-court pass behind his back for a layup. And if you blurred your eyes, you squinted your eyes, it looked like magic. And it was Larry saying goodbye.
This competition thing is amazing, what it does to you. What you put your body through and what you do and what you say and how you feel. And knowing that he's not there, wouldn't feel right. But I think it's all them years that, what's he doing? What if he's practicing this hard? I bet he shot 500 shots a day and I didn't get 500 in. It's always that mind games.
Bird played through the 91-92 season, his last in the NBA, but a part of him was already gone.
I didn't check the papers anymore, it didn't matter. I still want to compete, but it wasn't the same. It really wasn't.
With the exception of that year when he was called Tragic Johnson because on the basketball court things didn't shake down properly, this is the first time I'm hearing ignorance, hatred, vicious, nasty things.
There was some of my former teammates who had their own little things that they were talking about and why this happened to me.
You know anybody else that's heterosexual that got it? Come on, man. You're in denial. I've been called gay, faggot, Irvin's lover. I've been called all that shit.
Lon Rosen got a call from Isaiah Thomas asking, you know, I keep hearing Magic's gay. And Lon said, well, for crying out loud, you know better than anybody he isn't. You're one of his best friends. And he said, well, we don't know what's going on in Hollywood. And the fact that Isaiah was questioning why he got this, I think it was really, really hurtful to him.
He used to say, you know, I don't want people to stop shaking my hand and giving me my hugs. He loves to be loved. And that's what bothered him the most, that people would change in relationship to him.
He would show up at the Lakers facility to work out and to shoot some baskets, and he'd try to engage his teammates and say, hey, you want to play a little one-on-one before practice? And, oh, geez, no, I can't. I got to go get taped. Or, oh, geez, I got work to do. I got to do something else.
The worst thing of all this is that I couldn't play basketball. I don't even think dealing with HIV. It was I couldn't play.
The game, the surroundings was his whole world. That's his personality. When you take that away, you know, you're hurting. I knew he was hurting in a big way.
The only sex is safe sex, and that's no sex.
As basketball went on without him, Magic performed ably in his new role as HIV educator and spokesman.
I'm helping every way that I can.
But he still pined for the arena, which had made him a star. So when he was invited to play in the 1992 NBA All-Star Game, he jumped at the chance, promptly stealing the show and winning MVP honors. But that was just a warm-up for the encore Magic had up his sleeve.
He's not done yet, because we're going to go to Barcelona and bring back the gold for everyone here in the United States. That's right.
For the first time ever, NBA players would be competing in the Olympics, and Magic, armed with a message, was not about to miss the show.
It would have proved to people that you were not going to get the disease playing against me. And then also for me too, personally, you know, it was therapy. It was a way to say, man, yeah, you get to do this one more time.
There was also one other perk.
I think playing with Larry was very important. That's something they talked about. I mean, he was going to be on the Dream Team, he was going to be with Michael, he was going to be with Barkley, but he was going to play with Larry.
Magic kept saying to him, I just want to get you out on that court one more time. Let's just have one more sequence like we had all the way back in 1978. But it was interesting that with Magic being the one that was HIV positive, he felt great. He was in the best shape of his life. I got a smile on my face. He had worked so hard to make sure he didn't go there as a token player. And here was Larry, who couldn't even practice, who could barely move.
But you know what? It didn't matter. We were still together. You know, didn't matter. And when he got his opportunity, he switched a few.
And who's taking the last shot with the game on the line?
When I got my opportunity, I still was Magic.
– 14 years after they'd first crossed paths, the smiling kid from Lansing and the shy boy from French Lick were happily back together in Barcelona. But it took just one glance outside their hotel's front door each morning for them to see that as far as they had come, they were as far apart as ever.
The only way you walk out that door if you wanted attention. But I asked this guy, I know, how can you get around this? There's got to be a way. Lo and behold, there was a side door. You can go wherever you want. I was going to tell him about it, but seeing that smile on his face, the closer you got to that front door, come on. He didn't want no side door, you know Irvin. You go right in the middle of them.
Turn the long way, sweetheart. There you go.
I'm going out the front because that's who I am. I don't go out the back. I don't go out the side.
That's not me. If you want to go somewhere in a hurry, there's a door that leads you there. I found it.
I respected him for that. And so, hell, I would try to find a side door for him. And we never tried to change each other. That's what made this relationship great.
One of my pet peeves always is when people say, oh, Michael Jordan saved the NBA. Bullshit. Bullshit. Magic and Larry saved the NBA. That's who saved the NBA. Magic and Larry.
Magic and Larry. Bird and Magic. To the millions who once watched them, now more than ever, they are inseparable. A pair of athletes thrown together by the cosmos to compete. A pair of men who discovered a bond in the midst of that competition. Decades removed from the height of their rivalry, their bond endures. Two impossibly different men with a connection only they can fully grasp.
It's almost like a private little club, and only the two of them are in it. And every once in a while, they need to show up to have a reunion and pay their dues to each other. But they don't need the day-to-day contact that most friends need. It's just not that kind of relationship.
But I always get this good feeling when I know I'm going to see him because He makes you feel good. You know, he really does. He's unbelievable.
He's very private, but if he's your friend, man, you got a friend for life. And Larry Bird is a straight shooter. He'll tell you when he don't like you. That's one thing I wish I could have from him, that he has that I don't have. I wish I had that.
I mean, he walked in here, this whole room would change, and maybe that's what I always wanted to be, but I just couldn't.